For example 3, we're going to talk about bearings. This is used a lot with navigation, anything involving navigation on the water especially. So we have a boat that leaves the harbor and sails 10 kilometers on a bearing of 120 degrees. It then changes direction and sails 15 kilometers on a bearing of 200 degrees. Calculate how far the boat is from the harbor. So, first we need to pick a point. Any point will do. This is where we're starting from. So I'm going to call this point A, and every point after will be the next letter in the alphabet. So if we have multiple directions, if we have 5 or 10, I can just follow my letters in alphabetical order. Now, the thing about bearings is we always have to look at north, south, east, and west. So I'm going to draw some dotted lines here through my point. And that's going to stand for my north, south, east, and west. You don't have to put those directions on it, but you can. Now, when we talk about bearings, the first bearing is 120 degrees. Your starting point is always looking north. So pretend you're on this boat right here in the harbor and your compass is always pointing north. To move 120 degrees, you're going to move clockwise from this line here. So clockwise this way. So 120 degrees first starts out as this right here is 90 degrees. And 120 is just 30 beyond that. So through the middle is a little much. So roughly like so. So that would be 90 degrees there with the box, and then 30 more degrees here. And that 30 degrees is between this blue dotted line and the pink line. But all together, this angle right there is 120 degrees. Now, we travel along this line, along this bearing, for 10 kilometers until we stop. And we're going to call this point B. Now, once we get to this position, we change direction. So we have to get our bearings again. So we have to look at our compass. So north, south, east, and west here. If you want to, you can put the directions on them, but you don't have to. And we're going to travel again. This next one says we're going to sail 15 kilometers on a bearing of 200 degrees. So we always look from north and travel 200 degrees clockwise. So from the north clockwise, we have 90 degrees here. We have another 90 degrees. That's 180 total if we just go south. And we want a total of 200. So we're going to go a little beyond. And we travel that for a while, for 15 kilometers. And this angle right here, this small space, is 20 degrees. That 20-degree angle is between this dotted blue line pointing south and the pink line. We travel along that pink line for 15 kilometers, and we stop at the end at point C. Once we get to this spot, they want to know how far away from the harbor we are. And the harbor was at point A. So we're just going to draw a line connecting A and C. Now, we want to find that length there. We can call that x, or we can call it lowercase b, because it is opposite angle B here in our triangle. Now, in order to find out this length, we need our angles. So, not only are we going to use the triangle, we're also going to use our bearings in blue here, our two different blues. Now, this is really interesting. So if we look at our west and south here, that creates a 90-degree angle. We already know part of it is 20 degrees, so the rest of it right here has to be 70 degrees. Now, that's just this portion here between the west line and that pink line. We need this whole entire angle at angle B. So we need this little section right here. We need that section, what's left. To find that out, we're actually going to extend our bearings up here from point A. So I'm going to erase E for east. I'm just going to extend that dotted line all the way over. Because these are bearings and north, south, east, and west are perpendicular, that is going to be 90 degrees. With this, we have a triangle right here. We have 90 degrees, 30 degrees, and the last one has to be 60 degrees. And again, between west and north, that is another 90-degree angle. Part of it's already 60, so this last bit is 30 degrees. Now we have enough to find the length of AC here. If you need to, go ahead and redraw this triangle below without all the extra stuff. So I'm just going to draw A, B, C like so. Not perfect. This is 10 kilometers. This was 15 kilometers. We're trying to find B. And we know angle B is 100 degrees. We know that because it's 70 plus 30. Now, you just need to find side B. Go ahead and pause the video, see if you can figure it out. Let's see if you got it. So, our methods to solve are the trig ratios, also known as SOHCAHTOA. We have our sine rule, and we have our cosine rule. We can do some process of elimination. It's not a right triangle, so don't use SOHCAHTOA. It's either sine rule or cosine rule. And it happens to be the cosine rule. So let's find that. So how we're going to do that is use the first version of cosine. It's b squared equals the other two sides squared and added together minus 2 times, I'm running out of room, so I should move that over, 2 times 10 times 15 times the cosine of 100 degrees. I'm going to make sure my work is very organized. So I'm first just going to square both of those numbers and add them. You get 325. I'm then going to multiply these three numbers in front of cosine. That becomes 300. And the cosine of 100 just kind of stays. To get b by itself, we're going to square root both sides. And of course, we'll go ahead and type all of that into our calculator. And we'll round that to 3 sig figs. Here is the decimal you should get on your calculator. Of course, that keeps going forever. And we round to the nearest to 3 sig figs, which is approximately 19.4 kilometers. That is how far we are from the harbor now.